Hello all and welcome to tonight's review, which I am dubbing the Everything is Going to Be Okay review. And why am I calling it that? Well, because quarantines, social distancing, yeah, shit's getting a bit crazy, yo. But beer reviews must go on as long as there is beer to be sold. As long as there is alcohol to be sold, I will be keeping on doing reviews as long as I am still breathing and not choking to death on my own fluids. Everything is going to be fine. So what are we reviewing tonight? Well, this is actually a take 2 review. And so I'm doing something I haven't actually ever done before, which is going back and reviewing something that I reviewed previously. In this case, only maybe about 2 or 3 weeks previously, because I am reviewing the She's Got Sauce Rye Saison from Waikiki Brewing Company. And why am I reviewing it? I haven't uploaded the previous review to this. I don't know if I'm going to upload it. And if I don't, the reason why is because a previous review from that growler fill, that something wrong happened with the carbonation, the carbonator inside the growler fill machine. And it basically came out, the beer was given to me flat. And shit happens. I'm not going to go and blame it, especially since the guy who, usually runs the place, it was his wife that was doing the fills. So, she's not as technically adept as he is in regard to operating it in some steps. I'm really wishing them well right now. The other big reason why I'm re-reviewing this is because most of the other beers that they had on the growler fill were sold out. And I'm guessing that is because local brewers are no longer brewing beer for the most part. They're trying to sell off what stock they have. And some of the others are going into making hand sanitizers, local distilleries and whatnot. And here's hoping that, local brewing, local distilling survives this crisis. Hawaii's not yet very badly hit. There's very little community spread. Most of the cases found of COVID-19 have been from people who traveled recently. And they're going to stop traveling pretty soon. They're going to be putting on a flight quarantine, which they should have put on 2 weeks ago. Basically, the story about this entire, pandemic is that people are doing things that should have been done 2 weeks to a month ago. And now we're paying the price for it. Just mildly congested, mostly due to the nastiness of the weather and my own sort of hypochondria, reverse placebo effect, in which I convince myself I am constantly on the brink of coming on with some respiratory thing. But as you can see, I am still here. It's almost like I need to take a breath to go and remind myself that I am still breathing. But onward, onward. Why are we not going into the beer? So, She's Got Sauce, Rye Saison, 6.15 ABV, 30 ABV, 30 IBUs. And let's get this open, shall we? Oh, much better now with the carbonation going on there. So, what we have here is a clear golden amber beer with a frothy white head, redolent of citrus fruits, phenolic funkiness, Sort of that cross in between bubblegum and juicy fruit. Hints of clove and bananas. Not much hoppiness. Underlying that, maybe a sort of bready malts, but it's kind of difficult to go and get how the malts are going to be from the nose of a Saison, I find. But overall, far more Saison notes than rye notes at this point. But fruity. Juicy, but not in an IPA sort of way. Let's get to this, shall we? Not much carbonation presence on the palate, so perhaps this one is not really oomph in that regard. Refreshing, semi-dry. Hop bitterness on the palate, just ever so slight. In the front, ready to crackery malts. As a base, higher effervescent notes of bubblegum. Moving into the mid to finish, into the finish. A nice hit of orange to orange peel. Probably more orange peel-like notes there. In the very front, some pepper. Funkiness is at its most funky in the mids. Delightful phenolic note right there. Definitely a citrus to almost lemon zest in the finish. That blends a bit with the slight hoppiness and has a nice residual aspect on the palate. That phenolic note is at its most effervescent, and also a little bit beneath the base too. It kind of lingers on the palate in the finish, in the mid to finish, and into the long finish. All in all, a very interesting kind of combination. Those phenolics are pretty sweet on the nose, sweet smelling, but don't really lend much sweetness on the palate. There's not much in the way of residual sugar on the palate. So you're hit with sort of a sweet fruitiness up here, but there's the dryness on the palate, especially in the finish when the hopping kind of really kicks in. And that's a nice little interesting contrast there. Orangey notes show up more and more as it warms up in the mid to finish. Not overly much of the rye spice except for the right in the front there. All in all, pretty interesting. I would have liked for just maybe a bit more thicker body. It is a little bit thin and tannic on the palate. All in all, I would definitely classify this as interesting. Not really hitting the spot or wowing me. It's interesting. A couple of small flaws here and there. Not really sublime. It's definitely a Saison using rye, and that's something I'm going to repeat myself for a third time. Interesting. Because suddenly my lack of vocabulary is growing day by day. I overfloweth with words. I don't know what to say about that. But anyways, it's at this point it's rather unlikely that you're going to get to try this beer. I am hoping, like I said, with the way things are going, kind of talking to the guy at the growler fill place, we're hoping that a lot of the local brewing industry will survive. It's going to be quite hard without the tourist industry, which kind of floats most of, you know, the service industry, especially in Kailua, which is very reliant on the tourist industry. Unemployment here just literally tripled to quadrupled in a week. I'm kind of lucky in that I have a state job, so I'm stable for the meanwhile, though I really wish that they would provide us with protective equipment, considering that we are front-facing staff, and you know, we interact with a lot of people, including a lot of people, for lack of better words, who aren't taking care of their health because they have no houses. So, enough about that. Back to this beer. She's got sauce. Maybe if Waikiki Brewing survives, let's hope they do, fingers crossed, this will come out again, and you can try this interesting take on a Saison using rye in the malt bill. And I, your host, will continue reviewing beers and other alcoholic beverages as long as they continue to be available and I continue to be able to drink. That is your beer review for tonight, folks. Take care. Remember to wash your hands. Stay safe. Practice social distancing. And everything is going to be fine. Cheers.